Anh nhìn cái nhà chưa, cửa nhà tôn chưa, bay gãy rồi này. Rồi xong. Bỏ đi, đừng có tiếp của nó, bỏ đi.
Typhoon Kajiki began like many others in the sea, but unfolded into unimaginable chaos across several countries. Its path tore through southern China, lashed Vietnam's coasts, and pushed inland, leaving behind a trail of grief, destruction, and fear. Vietnam knew it was coming. Kajiki had been tracked for days, and its rapid movement made meteorologists uneasy. The warnings grew urgent. The government ordered evacuations, fearing this storm could be as powerful as Typhoon Yagi, which had devastated northern Vietnam the year before, killing hundreds and causing billions in damage. The scale of preparation was staggering. More than 500,000 people were evacuated from coastal provinces, stretching from Thanh Hoa to Quang Tri. Fishermen were called back from sea. Airports in Thanh Hoa and Quang Binh shut down, while Vietnam Airlines and Vietjet canceled flights. Train services were suspended. It was as if the country hit pause, waiting for the inevitable. The Deputy Prime Minister explained that floods and landslides could be even more dangerous than the storm itself. The Prime Minister issued urgent instructions to ministers, governors, and local officials, demanding swift evacuations and constant vigilance. On standby were 16,500 soldiers and over 100,000 paramilitary forces, ready to step in as soon as disaster struck. Then Kajiki slammed into Vietnam's coast with winds reaching 133 kilometers per hour. For many families, the first night was unforgettable. Roaring winds battered homes, rattled windows, and tore off rooftops. Power went out in provinces like Thanh Hoa, Nghệ An, Hà Tĩnh, and Phu Tho after hundreds of electricity poles fell. Darkness covered communities already shivering in fear.
Wow.
By morning, the devastation became clear. At least 3 people were dead, with more than a dozen injured. Nearly 7,000 homes were damaged. Vast rice fields, 28,800 hectares, were left underwater. Roads turned into rivers with cars and buses stranded on highways as floodwaters rose almost to a meter. Though Kajiki weakened quickly as it pushed inland, the rain did not stop. Heavy downpours continued, triggering fears of landslides in the mountains and flash floods in low-lying areas. For farmers, the flooded rice fields were not just numbers on a report. They were months of work gone overnight. Before reaching Vietnam, Kajiki had already brushed past southern China's Hainan Island. For the popular resort city of Sanya, it meant closing down beaches, shops, and public transport. Tourists were stranded in hotels, waiting nervously as businesses locked their doors and winds grew stronger. Authorities ordered the evacuation of 20,000 people. More than 30,000 fishing boats were pulled back into ports, crowding the harbors like restless animals. Heavy rainfall drenched Hainan and parts of Guangdong. Some areas recorded up to 35 centimeters of rain. Chinese officials issued a yellow alert, the 3rd highest warning in the country's system. This was not the first disaster they had faced in recent months. Flooding had already killed dozens in Beijing earlier that summer, displacing tens of thousands. Kajiki, even though it did not hit with full force, was another blow to already exhausted communities. Kajiki's journey did not end in Vietnam. The storm had weakened into a tropical depression as it entered Laos. Wind speeds dropped to around 88 kilometers per hour, but the rain still threatened floods and landslides. In Cambodia and central Myanmar, officials warned villagers to prepare for rising waters. The World Meteorological Center in Beijing noted that Kajiki's remnants would still spread chaos across inland regions. In rural areas where infrastructure was fragile, even a weakened storm could mean disaster. Thailand issued alerts for 58 provinces. Authorities warned of flash floods, landslides, and dangerous waves in the Andaman Sea and Gulf of Thailand. Yet for many, the danger escalated faster than they imagined.
ขนลุกอ่ะเกิดมายังแบบเคยเจอเลยที่เนี่ยโดนลอยปีนี้ต้องถ่ายบ้างไปแล้วว่า
In the northern provinces of Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, and Mae Hong Son, heavy rains caused deadly landslides. In Chiang Mai, 4 people died when mud and rocks buried homes. In Mae Hong Son, another person drowned. At least 15 were injured, while others were trapped or swept away. The disaster agency reported that 6,300 people and 1,800 households were affected. Homes collapsed, crops were destroyed, and power outages added to the misery. Even days later, water levels in 8 provinces remained dangerously high, leaving thousands displaced. This was the second time that year northern Thailand had been hit by a typhoon's remnants. For survivors, it was another reminder of how fragile life felt when storms swept in from the sea. Statistics can never fully capture the weight of a storm like Kajiki. At least 7 people died in Vietnam. More than 10,000 homes and offices were damaged. Rice fields and cash crops were ruined. In Thailand, 5 more lives were lost, with 7 still missing. Thousands were left homeless across the region. Meteorologists called Kajiki unusual. It moved with alarming speed, catching regions off guard. Some areas saw more than 40 centimeters of rain. Others recorded downpours of 20 centimeters within just 3 hours. Roads turned into rivers in minutes, and mountain slopes collapsed without warning. The storm's timing also mattered. For Vietnam, it was already the 5th tropical storm that year. For Thailand, it followed earlier disasters. For China, it arrived after a summer of deadly floods. Each blow stacked upon the last, deepening the sense of exhaustion among people and governments alike. By the time Kajiki dissipated, its chaos had stretched across multiple countries. It was no longer just Vietnam's problem or China's challenge. It was a regional crisis, with each nation carrying scars of its own. In Vietnam, rebuilding meant more than repairing homes. It meant restoring electricity poles, clearing highways, and replanting rice fields. In Thailand, the focus turned to finding the missing and sheltering displaced families. In China, officials worked to reopen ports and bring life back to Hainan's resorts. And yet, for those who lived through it, the storm would not be forgotten. For some, Kajiki will always be remembered as the night when winds howled through broken windows and rain hammered the rooftops until sleep was impossible. For others, it will be the storm that took loved ones away. But for everyone in its path, Kajiki was proof of how fragile life can be when nature decides to strike.